What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Kevo Bands Hoops podcast, man. We back on a fine Sunday. I hope everybody out there is doing well. Hope everybody's staying safe. Hope everybody's enjoying the end of their summer, getting into the fall season, which for a lot of us sports fans, the best time of the year. I got a very special guest, man, that I've been meaning to get onto the pod for probably a year, probably even more than that. This is my dog right here, longtime supporter. He does great work with his own show and everything. So to my guy Adrian, man, introduce yourself to the people and let us know how you doing, man.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy Adrian. Like Kev said, man, we've been trying to get together for a minute, finally making it happen. But you can follow me on at Twitter at Keeping the Score. And also you could go to my YouTube page, subscribe, Adrian Myers, where it says right here down below. Support your boy, show some love. I do a little bit of everything, so we just here to talk some hoops, man, talk some sports, man. I'm ready.
Yes, sir, man. Again, I appreciate you for hopping on, man. Like we said, we already know it's been a long time in the making, but we're making it happen. It's 2023, we getting it done. But as always, it's my guy right here. So he a North Carolina fan, so I'm very excited to talk about the Heels because I've had a lot of opinions about them. A lot of people think I'm a North Carolina hater and this and that. I don't hate North Carolina. I'm a college basketball fan. Like I support all blue bloods, but I also like seeing, teams that have or schools that have been in the gutter kind of ascend, like Kansas State or like a couple other instances. But with the Heels, man, before we talk about Hubert Davis and this upcoming team this season, which should be pretty good, I want to go back to last year's team, right? They finished seventh place in the ACC. They had an overall record of 20-13 and 11-9 in ACC play, and they missed the tournament, right? You had Caleb Love, you had RJ Davis, you had Armando Bacot. People were high on Pete Nance. So just talk to me about the team and what you think went wrong. And yeah, let the people know how you feel about that team last year.
Well, we're gonna take it back, man. We're gonna take it back not last year, but the year before that. As you can see, we struggled mightily the entire season and got hot at the right time. Caleb was an assassin. Everybody just clicked and go. The game that got me on my feet was that Baylor game when we got a big lead and almost blew it.
Great game.
And then as Caleb hit the biggest shot in one of the school's histories against Duke, which that makes me more excited to be Duke. But taking it back to them, I think it's two things, man, that really had me thinking about it. One was the fact that this team had a hangover, so they thought they could just come into the season and put everything together, but they did not do that. Two, and I think this is the biggest thing, this team could not shoot the three ball under 30% as a team. And as you know, you get in games, Caleb's jacking shots up, RJ's jacking shots up. They weren't feeding Armando to make out the ball enough in the first half of these games. You notice every time he got the ball in the post, nobody could stop him, and they just waited too long. And I think I don't know, man, they played around too much people and just didn't put people away like they were supposed to, and just was riding on the high. And then we got this Caleb Love issue, and I think people are making that more of a big deal than it is. A lot of Carolina fans actually get mad at him. It's not his fault, man. He's at Arizona now. I'm happy for him. I hope he does well. But I think that those are the two things in my eyes. I just think needed to refresh, everybody need to regroup and get back to the pack and figure out what they're gonna do going on from here.
Man, I agree with everything you said. The shooting, not giving Armando his touches in the post, which he rightfully has deserved since he's been at UNC. What you hit on though with Caleb Love, that's been my biggest issue with Carolina fans, right? And I'm glad that you said that because it's like everybody put the blame on Caleb Love just because
Sure did.
his shot selection wasn't good. We know that, right? But that kind of leans on Hubert too, right? If you're Hubert, you gotta tell him like, hey, that shot is you can get that shot anytime you want to, right? It's not always the best shot. So that was kind of my thing. I just didn't like how people kind of put all the blame on Caleb. Like when a team is struggling that much, that's an entire group effort, right? That's not just one single player that you can blame on that. So to me, that's what I didn't like about Carolina fans. But as you said, he's at Arizona. I'm excited to see what he does under Tommy Lloyd in the last year of the Pac-12. We'll see how that goes. We actually play them this year in Palm Springs. I'll be at that game, so I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be really fun.
Yes, sir.
But I want to ask about Hubert Davis, man, because it feels like all the Carolina fans that I know, I've talked to a few. I know a few people directly from North Carolina. They're either really in love with Hubert or they're already cooled off of him and over him. And so I want to ask you how you feel about him because, in my opinion, when I look at him, when it comes to new coaches, right? I don't really like to, I say it all the time. I don't like to judge new head coaches until like year 3. And this is year 3 for Hubert. And the thing, especially about this upcoming team, we'll get into in a minute, is that the past couple teams were all Roy Williams recruits, right?
Yeah,
this upcoming team is a team that Hubert has assembled together for himself, right? It's his roster, so he's gonna have complete control of this team. But I want to ask you, how do you feel about Hubert Davis being an assistant coach going into his third season at Carolina?
It's spot on what you said, man. Is he's going to his third year. I think year one, they got hot, like I said, and that set the bar extremely high for him. And then you get everybody to come back, and then it's just a disappointment of a season. I think that's just the up and downs of becoming a good head coach, especially in the ACC, where I don't think it's super deep, but we'll talk about that later. But just as far as that, I think Carolina fans gotta just relax. You gotta let him do his thing and figure it out how he wants the coaching style. Roy used to like to get up and down the court and go. Think Hubert's trying to take a little bit of his style, but he just needs to be himself. And this is the year where it's going to tell me what I need to know about him. But I'm feeling confident about him. As of right now, Carolina actually has the number one recruiting class. According, I use 247, so that's my side of
Me
it for
too.
everything.
Yep.
Even I know Elliott reclassified. I kind of figured that was gonna hurt us and get a point guard. I knew Simeon Wilcher, which he was the first committed guy left. So I think that's gonna help. You got Ian Jackson coming in, James Brown out of Chicago. You got some guys coming in next year. So if he can't win with these guys, then hey, he can be on the hot seat next season. But as far as him, I say on a scale of 1 to 10, confidence wise, I'm about an 8 with Hubert right now. I'm liking where we're at right now. I can't be over the moon. We're not as good as Michigan State. We're not as good as Kansas right now. We still, the season still has to play out. But as far as on paper, we got a lot of work to do. And I like some of the pieces that we added this offseason.
Yeah, so let's talk about that, right? This upcoming team, me personally, I'm 50-50, but I want to get your thoughts on the team first. So I want to say some polls have them like, I mean, I don't really care about preseason polls, to be honest, because it's
Not
just
me
like
neither.
you don't really know, right? You got to see the teams actually play, but some people have them unranked, some people have y'all like near top 15ish. So with the team though, you bring back RJ Davis, you bring back Armando Bacot, you bring back Seth Trimble, you bring back Jalen Washington, you bring in Elliot Cadeau, as you mentioned, reclassified from class of 24. You bring in Harrison Ingram from Stanford. You
I
bring back
like that get.
excuse me, yeah, I like him too. You bring in Cormac Ryan from Notre Dame for some shooting. You got Jalen Withers coming over from Louisville. You bring in Zayden High, another freshman out of San Antonio, and you bring in Paxton Wojcik from Brown, who we played against last year too, is actually pretty good. And he's actually the son of an assistant coach at Michigan State, Doug Wojcik.
Oh shoot.
Yeah, so talk to me about this team, how you feeling about them, and yeah, just your overall thoughts on this 23-24 North Carolina roster.
I like where it's at, especially we added some shooting with Cormac Ryan. I watched him at Notre Dame a couple times, even that game last season, late in the year, where Carolina was fighting for a tournament spot. He was lighting us up. So I think he's the guy that they extremely need. Elliot Cadeau, I think, is going to be in the running to be a ACC Freshman of the Year because I think he's going to take complete command of that control. He dominated the EYBL as a junior in high school and then reclassified. So I'm really excited for him. He's got bounce. One of the best passers in the country, man. I think he'll be able to space the floor a little more, get these guys going. And then Harrison Ingram, he was supposed to be a one and done out of Dallas, the Dallas area, and went to Stanford, which no offense to Stanford, but I just think Stanford, man, you on the West Coast. I just think they don't care about basketball and football right now. Look what's happening in realignment, man. They care about soccer, lacrosse, any of the other sports that's not really generating. Yeah. So it's like, hey, man, go somewhere where you're going to be able to get a good education, and then you're going to be able to develop your basketball skills. But I think adding him to the wing, we haven't had an explosive guy on the wing since Justin Jackson wasn't even explosive. I'm going back to probably Harrison Barnes on the wing. Them days, Wayne Ellington, Rashad McCants, back. But we haven't got that wing player who can just be – we talked about this before. That wing player just get on the wing and be explosive and get the ball in his hand. So I think he'll strive better than the system. I know he averaged over 10 points a game, but I like what I'm seeing from him. And then my breakout guy this year that I expect to see big things from is Jalen Washington. When he came into Carolina, he was coming off an injury out of high school. I'm still trying to find his rhythm. Bacot, he's going to dominate as usual. I'm not worried. But Jalen Washington can take that next step. I think this can really take this team where they need to be. And as far as them ranked, like we talked about this, if I had to guess before the preseason poll comes out, I say if they're ranked, it'll probably be like between 20 and 25. And I would not be surprised if they come in the season unranked. But they like to show them love, so we'll see. But I'm realistic, man. That's why you my guy because I always know how to keep it real, man. I don't ever sugarcoat anything, and you don't either. So I hate when I see fans being unrealistic about expectations. So we just got to kind of just take it what it is. But I do expect them to make the tournament, no doubt about that for sure.
Yeah, I agree. My thing is that I like the roster, right? I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's terrible. to me, I just feel like Hubert addressed the problems from last season instead of just trying to make it a complete team as a whole, right?
Yep.
Like as you mentioned earlier, the shooting, the defense. He addressed those to a certain extent. The shooting is definitely, Cormac Ryan. I know we played against him last year at Notre Dame. He torched us. I think they beat us by like 20 plus. He killed us, right? Shooter,
Yeah.
Patrick Wojcik, same thing. My biggest concern is the defense, right? Because RJ solid. He has his moments here and there, but he's solid. Armando can be solid when he has some help. Harrison Ingram's probably gonna have to be that guy that holds down on the wing. Elliott, he's good, but we all know he's small, right? Some teams in the ACC are gonna try and target him and go at him. So that'd be my one concern is the defense. But luckily, if I'm being honest, and let's move on to the next question, is that the ACC is not that deep, right? It hasn't been that deep in the past few years, if I'm being honest. You've had a couple teams kind of surprise here and there. You had a couple teams like NC State squeeze into the tournament last season. But when I'm looking at it this year, I want to get your overall thoughts on the ACC because as of right now, to me, it's Duke, Miami, and then it's just like a big drop off in everybody else, right? Virginia could sneak up. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. Virginia Tech, I'm still waiting on them to figure it out with Mike Young. NC State lost too much talent. Clemson is up and down. You never know what you're going to get out of them. Florida State, I have no idea what's going on with Leonard Hamilton. They just completely fell off the map, and it's still surprising me. Georgia Tech and Syracuse are the sleepers, in my opinion, because they both have first-year head coaches. You got Red Autry at Syracuse taking over for Jim Boeheim, which is crazy thinking that Syracuse basketball won't have Boeheim. And Georgia Tech got Damon Stoudemire, which I think is probably the most underrated hire out of all the coaching hires across the country this year. So I just want to get your overall thoughts on the ACC and where you kind of see Carolina stacking up, throughout the conference.
Well, like you said, I agree. Duke and Miami for sure. 1 and 2, you can go back and forth. They return. Obviously, Duke returns for Lepowski, Proctor, Stewart. So they got some freshmen coming in. So Jeremy Roach, who's a good leader for them. Then you got Miami. I know they lost Isaiah Wong, but they still got Nigel Pack. They got Poplar back. They got some Bentley Joseph.
Dogs.
They got some guard play, man. Ochai Amir, who was kind of injured in that tournament run, but it was a big help for them. So I think you put them at 1 and 2, and then you can put Carolina in. I'll say they finish anywhere between. They could go from 3 to 6 again. I could see them somewhere in that bracket range, just depending on how we going about it. But like you said, I do agree with your Syracuse pick because I did watch a guard play. They got the transfer from Notre Dame in. I think they're gonna be good. I don't know. Are they gonna still run zone with Autry as the coach, or what are you thinking?
They saying he gonna switch it up, and I think he should just because obviously we know the Syracuse zone is like a staple, right? But I think that kind of killed Boeheim at the end of the day because teams figured it out, right? They missed the tournament last year, and it just got too old, and especially with these days with some of the athletes that Autry already has, as you mentioned, Notre Dame transfer J.J. Starling. They bring in Chance Wetry from Auburn, and then they bring back Judah Mintz, who could have easily went into the NBA draft last year. So I think you're going to see a mixture of – honestly, I think he probably – not even a mixture. I think he probably leans more man-on-man than the actual zone, in my opinion.
I think for me, they're a sleeper team in the ACC because Judah Mintz, he lit us up last year. He couldn't stop him. My problem with Judah, though, is he's not afraid to shoot the ball. But he's got to get more efficient and better, which I think he'll take a big leap in his sophomore year. So I think it was huge for him to come back for sophomore year with J.J. Starling from Notre Dame. And obviously Notre Dame got a new coach in Shrewsbury. I think it's a good addition. But I think they'll be the sleeper team. I definitely think they're going to make the NCAA tournament this year. That's my sleeper in the ACC.
Yeah, and that's exactly where I was going to with that. So, again, the ACC is not bad. It's just like, to me, when I look at it, for the both of us, in my opinion, the two most like classic and historical conferences in college basketball are the ACC and the Big East, right? And now I actually want to talk to you about this. I know I didn't put this on the sheet earlier, but with all this conference realignment, you're seeing teams potentially leaving the ACC. We don't know what's going to happen. I seen Florida State's thinking about leaving the ACC and things like that. Yeah. How do you see this playing out for basketball and football? And when it comes just to ACC with certain teams,
it's kind of hard, man. Honestly, if in the reality, I would really wanted to just let football do its own thing because we all know it's the generator that drives everything. Basketball makes money really on the NCAA tournament, but I love it just as much as you do. I would be happy, man, if they went back to the old Big East with Syracuse, Pittsburgh, Georgetown, UConn. Man, that would make me excited. Coming from a guy, I remember that game when it was 6 overtimes. Man, that would put it back in the Garden, man. That would be exciting. The Big East now is good, so I think if you could do it, if it can happen, make it happen. But the bottom line at the end of the day, all these schools care about is money, so it's gonna go from where you put them. Just like it's like now, I'm pretty sure you on the West Coast, so you was just as shocked when you heard Oregon and Washington going to the coming into Big Ten country, man. I was like,
Yep.
whoa, this is crazy, you know. So it's just like these chancellors and presidents talk about, well, we're doing it for academics. Hey, man, why you gotta lie to us, dog? Just tell us that you're doing it for money, man. That is the bottom line. That is the bottom line. And if I'm Florida State, why are you trying to leave the ACC? You want to go to the SEC where you'll get stomped on, man. Stay in the ACC with Clemson, dominate, and leave it at that. Because I don't think the Big Ten is going to take them. So, you know, I like where it's at. But if we can bring the old Big East back, man. Let's do it. I'm ready to run.
I love that answer. That would be must see TV every night, right? Tuesday through Saturday. I'd love to see that. So,
man,
I got one more college basketball question for you. Then we're gonna get into college football because that's what I really want to talk to you about.
okay.
Who do you think is the most slept-on team in the country going into this 23-24 season?
Can I give you two, man? Can I give you two? I struggle with it.
Of
The
course.
first one I'm gonna go with. I know everybody is gonna bag on me, and I know he's probably one of the most disliked guys in college basketball. But I'm gonna go with Illinois Fighting Illini. Brad Underwood. It's been a mess, man. It's been a mess up there. You know, guys transferred. Sky Clark leaving last year in the middle of the season was weird. They had another point guard transfer to it was Georgetown, right?
Yeah, Jaden Epps. Yep.
Yeah, Jaden Epps. They don't really have a point guard, so that's my only problem when I was thinking about doing this. But you know, you still got Terrence Shannon. You still got Terrence Shannon back this year. He's like he's been in college for 7 years, man. And watching them in the Big Ten every week going against Michigan because that's always my home state. But watching them against Michigan and Michigan State, they give everybody problems. So they just got to be consistent, man. They're never consistent, and I just think if they can put it together, I think they'll really have a shot. And then my other team is Vanderbilt. Jerry Stackhouse has been doing a great job at that university, man. With that school, I almost got them in the tournament last year. In the tournament, I believe they were playing Texas A&M, but they were hot last year. So they got some guards. They got Tyron Lawrence. They got Colin Smith. They got some guys coming in. They got the freshmen. I don't know if you've seen that show on Apple TV called Swagger. Real good show. I recommend you watch it, but it's about basketball. But there's a guy on there. His name is Jason Rivera. He plays basketball in there, but he's coming as a freshman. He can shoot the ball. I just think what Jerry's doing over there is good, man, especially with the academics, trying to get in that university and playing in the SEC. Well, I know we got the Must Bus down there. You got Nate Oates down here. He actually coached in the state of Michigan at Romulus. Shout out to Nate. Kentucky, of course, I think they'll be better this year. So I just think he's doing a great job down there, man.
No, those are great answers. And I want to get to both those. When it comes to Vanderbilt, that is a great shout out, bro. Like, I appreciate you for saying that because
oh yeah, for sure.
I might have talked about Jerry Stackhouse once or twice on the pod, but people don't understand that Vanderbilt is just like Cal, like you mentioned earlier, with Stanford, where they prioritize academics over anything, and those schools get left behind. You see, even in your home state, Michigan, their admissions office can get in the way of some of y'all recruits, right? You've seen it happen multiple times, basketball and football, and especially Michigan is a whole different conversation. But like, when it comes to those schools that I mentioned, Cal, Stanford, Vanderbilt, they really do not care about athletics like that at all. And as you mentioned earlier, those are the money makers. Those are the generators. If we're being honest, academics is great. Don't get it twisted. That's what people go to school for the most part, right? But the athletics is what brings in that money. And when it comes to Jerry Stackhouse, bro, he has done a great job, especially being in the SEC. I can't wait for him to potentially get into the NCAA tournament because he deserves that. To me, he is one of the most underrated / underappreciated head coaches in the country. And as you mentioned, he's done a great job with that Vanderbilt Commodore program out there in Nashville, Tennessee. I got to give him a lot of credit. I appreciate you for saying that, bro. For
no problem, man. He played with my hometown Pistons, man. I got to show Stack some love, man. He's done a great job. He did a good job when he was coaching in the G League, man. He just working his way up, man. And if Vanderbilt's not careful, he could leave for a bigger job. So I would lock him up immediately.
Facts. That is a man. Honestly, I'm not even gonna lie to you. I thought he probably should have got. I mean, he wasn't ready yet, but I think whenever I'm not even gonna put it out there, but just say hypothetically, if North Carolina does open up, I think Stackhouse should be one of the first calls that y'all make. But I'm not gonna put that on Hubert because I'm not feeling that. But when it comes to Illinois, man, I agree with you so much. And the frustrating thing to me, this is the thing about Big Ten schools, right? It's like they all are in rich areas where basketball talent thrives, right? Especially Michigan. Michigan, to me, I always say is like the most underrated hoop state in the country. It's produced, you already know, legends, right?
I appreciate that.
But when it comes to Illinois, you just off the fact that you have Chicago means you really don't even have to leave the state to recruit, right? Because you have Chicago,
Absolutely.
where it's hundreds of thousands of hoopers, right? So you barely got to leave your own state. With the non-point guard situation, that's been my biggest thing with Brad Underwood, right? As you mentioned, Sky Clark is now at Louisville. Andre Curbelo left for St. John's. I think he's now at like South Mississippi, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Um,
Southern Miss, I believe.
exactly. So you had that. Jaden Epps, as you mentioned earlier, is at Georgetown now. Even Adam Miller left for LSU. Like they just lose point guards in that. And honestly, Juwan Howard's going through the same thing, right? Juwan Howard has tried to bring in point guards that have been via the transfer portal. Now he has Doug McDaniel, who I think Doug McDaniel is actually a good, building piece to build up off. I don't think he gets enough credit for last year's team for just being tumultuous, but he did a good job being thrown into the fire as a true freshman, in my opinion. But having a point guard, as we know, in the history of college basketball, not even just college basketball. To me, in general, the point guard is the most important position in the game. And especially in college basketball, though, you see it every March. If your team does not have a capable to more than capable point guard play, you're not going to have a deep run unless you just have like NBA players on your team, right? And when it comes to Illinois, again, you mentioned Terrence Shannon, Coleman Hawkins, Sincere Harris. The list goes on. Dane Danger. They got a whole bunch of players.
Ty Rogers, I like
Ty Rogers, exactly, from
Saginaw.
Saginaw. Yes, sir.
Shout out
Shout
to
out to Sag
Saginaw, baby.
Nasty. Yep. If they just had a point guard, and they're saying Ty Rogers is going to play point guard this year, so I'm very interested to see how that works out. I wouldn't do that personally because I wanted Ty Rogers at Michigan State, but that's not his natural position. But
no, it's not.
We'll see how it works out. But if they just had that point guard, I would feel so much better about them going into the season. Because, as you know, to me right now, going into Big Ten play is Purdue, it's Michigan State, and then it's a couple other teams. You can make the case for Ohio State, you can make a case for Maryland, you can make a case for Indiana. But if
What
Illinois,
are you thinking about Indiana? Oh, I'll let you finish, but
no, go ahead.
I'll let you finish. What are you thinking about Indiana? How you feeling about them?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I was just telling myself this earlier this morning, literally before we hopped on here. I'm joking when I say this, but it's a joke. Don't take it too serious, Hoosier fans, if y'all hear this. My goal by the end of the season is to make Indiana fans hate me. That's what I said to myself, right?
I felt the same way. I'm more so. I'd rather see Purdue. See, Indiana fans they're crazy, man. They're crazy, man.
Bro, I always say Indiana fans. I don't even want to call y'all delusional because I think that's being too nice to y'all. Just because I think a lot of their fan base is still stuck on the past, which I understand. Y'all have a rich history, right? It is what it is, but this is not that. Bob Knight is not here anymore, right? Y'all don't have an Isaiah Thomas walking through that door, obviously, right? He's one of the greatest point guards of all time.
Nope.
But when it comes to this Indiana team, you hitting on the head today, so I thank you for that.
I got you.
When it comes to Indiana, this is my thing, right? They have a really good front court, right? You got Khalil Ware, who was looked at as a lottery pick last year. He comes over from Oregon. You bring in Mackenzie Mbako. He was supposed to go to Duke. He, decommitted. He's now in Bloomington. You bring in Anthony Walker from Miami. He was pretty good for them going to the Final Four. They have a freshman. I forget his name, but they say he's supposed to be good. You bring back Malik Renaud. Yeah, you bring back Malik Renaud. So their front court is going to be good. The issue that I have with them is the guard play, bro. The guard play has been an issue for the past few years, right? Because my biggest thing is Xavier Johnson is solid. He's a solid Big Ten point guard. But if I'm being honest, and I hate to even put it like this, I hate to even phrase it like this.
Yeah.
If Jalen Hood-Schifino, if Xavier Johnson doesn't get hurt last year, I don't even know if we see the best version of Jalen Hood-Schifino, right? Because last year he went into Purdue and dropped 33. Purdue, in my opinion, is the toughest before the Breslin Center. I think Purdue Mackey Arena is the toughest environment in the Big Ten. Like teams barely go in there and win. And Jalen Hood-Schifino had 30 as a true freshman. And so the guard play is always suspect. They got Gabe Cupps, they got Ja'Kai Newton, they bring back Trey Galloway.
I think he's the X factor. Trey Galloway is. I think he played well. He played well last year. But we got to see if he can take like a full-time role and actually, doing it. And hopefully, like I said, like you said, Xavier Johnson has to stay healthy. If he gets hurt, that's bad, man. That's bad because he gets hurt, then I need to see a big season from Khalil Ware. I don't know why he went to – I just don't understand why he went to Indiana in the first place, man. They already had a center. The coach doesn't run this style. They already saying he doesn't have a high motor. So what are you doing, man? Go somewhere where you're gonna ball out, man.
Exactly. And that's the biggest thing right there, motor, right? The two players that Indiana fans are looking at to be their best players going into the season are Khalil
Mm,
Ware and Mackenzie Mbako. Both them dudes have motor problems, right? And if you're Mike Woodson's a good coach. I do give him credit because he's been pretty good since he's gotten there. But at the same time, when your two best players have motor issues, that concerns me. It's a reason Duke is not just letting recruits go for no reason. Mackenzie Mbako is a good player, but at the same time, he's a four man inside of a small forward's body, right? He doesn't have the quick foot speed like that. He's a good shooter, but he's not breaking dudes down off the dribble like that to get to his spots. He's like really good at catch and shoot situations. So when it comes to Indiana, man, they're probably like the biggest wild card in the Big Ten. I don't know what to expect from them. Again, the front court should be good, but even then, like you lose an all-time great player. You lose Trace Jackson Davis. He's an all-time great Hoosier to ever play for that program, right? And we'll see. Even Race Thompson was pretty solid for them last year. He has some injury issues, but when he was healthy, he was solid. So that's my thing. We'll see. The front court is really good, but the guard play is just suspect as I don't know what. So we'll see when it comes to Indiana, but we got to get to college football, man, because
let's
I
do
want
it.
to say this too while we on here. I appreciate what you do because when the season hits, I'm always tuned in to every single show of yours after
Yeah,
Michigan play. Because I know you do every single Michigan game. You talk
yeah.
about the Big Ten here and there. We'll talk about the Big Ten, but I want to go strictly to your Wolverines first, right?
Okay.
Last year was a successful season for the most part. I don't know how you define successful for y'all. We'll talk about it, but pretty good season, right? So I just want you to, because I'll be honest, as I mentioned before we got on here, I haven't really done my deep dives into college football like that. Like for even my team, I don't even know who our quarterback's going to be. They haven't named him, but we got some questions in the air with Mel Tucker, right? But
I'll tell you after we can get some. I'll give you my thoughts on it.
I appreciate that. So just preview your Wolverines. Tell me how you feeling about them. I don't even know how long Harbaugh been there now for like 6-7 years now.
It's his ninth year. 2015 was his first year. So yeah,
Already nine
yeah,
years. That's crazy, bro.
9 years.
So
Yeah.
talk to me about how you feel about the Wolverines, and then I want to talk, and then you can just go into it afterwards. Just the overall preview of the Big Ten, right? Just the best teams in the Big Ten.
Okay.
Y'all, Ohio State are usually the cream of the crop. So just enlighten my listeners out there. We're gonna get into some college football, man. It's that time of the year.
All right, you go ahead. I'm gonna try to keep it short and simple for everybody. I want to get confused, but coming in this year, this is make or break, man. They're already number two in the coaches poll coming in year. Ohio State's three. This is Harbaugh's easily best team on paper. You bring
Mm.
back your top two running backs. You bring back seven potential offensive linemen who could be drafted. You got guys from Stanford. You got guys from Arizona State. Ladarius Henderson, I think, will start. Maybe Miles Hinton from Stanford. You bring in a corner, Josh Wallace out of UMass. Will Johnson's coming back. Shout out to Will Johnson from Michigan, 5-star corner, coming into his own at the end of last year. So we got to find out who's going to be him. We got Makari Page, Rob Moore at the safety spots. D-line's probably the biggest question mark with edge rusher, especially because we lost to Jabo Hutchinson over the last couple of years. But I think there's nowhere on this roster where they're not sound and not good. You got Sanders still playing the slot corner. Did a great job last year. He was a converted wide receiver. What it's going to fall down is J.J. McCarthy. I think a lot of teams are going to try to stack the box, but you won't really see Michigan's best until later in the season. Check out, you seen their schedule? It's
No.
a joke, man. East
Hmm.
Carolina, week one, who's a bottom team in the AAC. Bowling Green in the MAC conference. We know the MAC is just a mess when it comes to football.
Max.
Yes, and we got Rutgers on the schedule. It's a mess, man. So really, what it comes down to at the end of the day is the season was at Penn State versus Ohio State. That's what it comes down to. And of course, Michigan State. I don't know if you heard, but that's going to be a night game. And my thing about that, man, I'm a little worried because, especially what I happened last year, these teams, the hatred is. We don't talk about
Real.
rivalries as much as we used to, but this is a rivalry, man. These teams do not like each other. So I think if Michigan's not careful, they can get beat by a Michigan State team who's in a pickle right now. But like I said, it comes down to that. I think Michigan's actually not favored if I look at the betting odds to win the Big Ten. It's Ohio State. It's about almost tied. But with that said, it's his best season. I think we can talk about that later, another later pod. But I think Harbaugh may be leaving Michigan. I think I think the writing's on the wall, man. I'm kind of at peace with it if he decides to leave, especially with this. We don't have to get into it, but with that whole NCAA investigation, it's
Yeah.
more so annoying than anything, man. I'm
Let's talk
excited.
about it though, real quick. Let's talk about that real
Okay.
quick because I got a take for you too, real quick.
Okay.
this may or may not shock you, but I want to go to the basketball. We're gonna stay on both sides, but with the basketball side too, I'm not gonna lie, and I'm gonna lead this on wax too real quick. I honestly think it's a good chance that this might be Juwan Howard's last year too, just because his son Jace is a senior, right? And to me, the way that Juwan is recruited, I feel like it hasn't been the best. And again, we already touched on it earlier when it comes to admissions, it's tough, right? It's not easy. You know, they tried to get Caleb Love, it didn't work out. They tried to get Terrence Shannon last year, it didn't work out. But I think Juwan is slowly but surely trying to make his way out just because, you know, I'm a Heat fan. I think Juwan's ultimate goal is to get back to the NBA, right? So when it comes to Harbaugh, I'm interested to hear you say that because I've heard some people say that too. And again, we've heard rumors the past few years about him going to the NFL. So I'm very intrigued by that. So I want to ask you too though, were you surprised about Blake Corum's return? And how are you feeling about Andre Anthony? Because to me, that's one of my favorite players on y'all team.
As far as Blake, I'm surprised. I was a little surprised just because he came off the knee injury. He had a phenomenal year. I think he would have been in New York for the Heisman ceremony. Maybe not win it, but he would have been there. He had the injury because, as you know, we can get a chance to talk about that later. But the running back market is not good right now, especially NFL. You drafting guys in the 5th, 6th, 7th round, and they're starting for 1,000 yards. So the value of the position, but I guess it just shows the love that he has for his teammates and that he really feels like they can win a national championship. So. With that being said, and what was the second question? I'm sorry, I got caught up.
You good. Andre Anthony, one of my favorite players on the team. How you feel about him?
I was kind of shocked we lost because Michigan actually needs a receiver like that. And then we got Roman Wilson, but he's a little smaller. We need like another Braylon Edwards again. I think that's the thing on this team I'm worried the most about is the receiver position. We got a couple guys coming in. We got Darius Clemens, he's a sophomore, number 0, 6'3", about 215. So if he can get on the field, we got Tyler Morris, but he's more of a flat receiver, smaller, 5'11". So I think that's a position where we haven't recruited. Like, I don't expect us to recruit like the Ohio States or the LSU's of the world. I don't know if you've seen Florida State's receiver position, but it's huge. Keon Coleman transferred there, 6'3". Johnny Wilson, 6'6". They got a tight end who's like 6'5". They're just loaded everywhere. But I just think with that being said, that they gotta address that. But Andre's gonna have. I think he's gonna be really good at Oklahoma. He's gonna be able to take the top off the defense, and because Marvin Mims left, so they're gonna be able to throw him down the field. Because you see what he did against his freshman year against Michigan State, taking it to the house. So I knew it was bound to happen. It's big time college football, man. These guys come in and don't play, and they're ready to get up out of there, man. So I support any guy who transfers. Let them be successful, man, and find their niche.
Man, I didn't even know he transferred. Honestly, that's crazy to hear that.
Literally, like probably a week after the season was over, and honestly, it wasn't shocking to me just because one, Cornelius Johnson came back, which I was totally shocked about. Roman Wilson's back, so they're kind of got like older guys at every position. So I think Harbaugh's like, hey, man, might be my best and last shot to win. But if you look at it, recruiting's going well right now. We finally found an offensive coordinator that works, Sharon Moore. I think he's eventually going to be a big time head coach. Defense, obviously, they always continue to do well. Jesse Minter's doing a good job on defense, on special teams. But with big programs like Michigan, Michigan State, anybody else, they're going to lose guys every year. So we'll see.
No, I appreciate that. So let's go to my Spartans real quick because I'm interested. I'm interested to hear you being from Detroit in the Mitten. Again, shout out to the Mitten, man. One of my favorite places. I got to get back out there. I got to get up out there. When it comes to my Spartans, right? Mel Tucker came out and said, a couple of days ago that had the whole fan base mad, talking about he didn't have the budget, and he didn't say it, but he pretty much alluded to like Ohio State paying like millions of dollars in NIL and things like that. But it's weird because I've always had faith in Mel Tucker, right? I mean, he has the pedigree in my opinion. He's been at Alabama. He helped recruit Georgia's team the first year they won it a couple years ago on the defensive side, but it's interesting, right? When you make that leap from coordinator to head coach, everything falls on your shoulders, right? You get all the blame, you get all the hate and the love. And he's gotten a lot of love, but low key, I'm starting to see the fan base kind of turn on him slowly but surely, right? When he came in, it was a lot of hype. It was a lot of new energy, right? We were trying to get off Mark D'Antonio, who was a legend, right? But the back end of his career was kind of very shaky, right? But when it comes to this year's team, I'm intrigued because, me being from Southern California, I know Caden Hauser's competing for the starting quarterback job, and he's solid, but I think Noah Kim is just clearly the more talented guy, and I think he should win it. Darius Snow, who's the son of former MSU legend Eric Snow, He's hurt right now. He had the injury from last year. I think it was it was early in the season, like messed up his knee real bad. He's not even healthy right now, which is a concern for me. But we bring back some good players. Jacoby Windman, I think, is really good for us. We got some talent at the receiver position. Trey Mosley should be good. Tight end position, Malik Carr, he's from the Mitten too. Came over from Purdue a couple years ago.
Yep.
He's good. So just tell me how you think we're going to do this year and just what you think the direction of the program is going into with Mel Tucker at the helm.
This is a make or break year for Mel Tucker, big time. Listen. My thing is, those comments. I listen to a local radio station. It's called 97 The Ticket. Mike, shout out to Mike Valeni, big Michigan State guy. So I get a lot of info. I listen to him a lot, and he keeps it 100, man, when it comes to Spartans, anybody. But he read those comments, and I didn't even realize that Mel Tucker even said it. And I said, look, man, you're getting paid like a top 5, top 10 coach. You just got new facilities. They're upgrading the stadium. Like you have to, if you want to play with the big boys, you got to go out there and do it. Of course, you might not be able to keep up with the Alabamas or LSU when it comes to NIL, but you got to figure out something. Talk to the boosters. Their alumni is huge. Look, man,
Yep.
you just bought the Phoenix Suns. Come on, man. People love to see their football team win, man. And if you just got to go out there and market yourself a little better, man. You have the facilities. This is a top 15, top 20 program, man. People want to come here and play. They've had some legends come play up at East Lansing. I just think Mel needs to just stop whining, man, and just figure it out. You have the facilities. You have all the needs. I think the athletic director, he's not really a football guy. So I think they need to figure it out. But Mel needs to really figure out. I think the biggest problem with Mel is it's going to be on the field. I expect them to be 7-5 or 8-4. That is what it has to be. And if it's not, they're gonna be calling to get this man out of there. And the problem is he's been too loyal to these garbage coaches. I'm sorry, Jay Johnson. No,
Yep.
Gotta go. Hardy Bennett, gotta go. Scotty Hazelton, you gotta go.
Facts.
Please, because I cannot watch them play the way they play defense. I know this first year was the COVID year, and they kind of had all the Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker saved this program, and he carried them on his back, and they took that for granted. I actually thought Peyton Thorne wasn't bad. He was developing, but they didn't get the job done, and now he won the starting job down in Auburn. So, kudos to him. But Mel Tucker has to do some different things. He took his coaching staff last year and just took the guys and said, "Hey, you're not a defensive coordinator. I'm gonna move you to the offensive line. You gotta go, man. We've been talking about this for years. D'Antonio did the same thing towards the end, and you could just tell that the writing was on the wall. But I really want Mel to succeed. I know he's done well against us. Let's do well against everybody else. You had a game last year where you get pounded by Minnesota, just running the rock all over you. I mean, struggling against Rutgers. You're struggling against all these bad teams in the Big Ten, and the Big Ten's only getting better. We're talking about adding Washington, Oregon, UCLA, and USC. So, and then we're going away from division. So I don't want to hear the excuses, man. It's going to get tougher for us too. So I think if he really wants to do it, he can do it. But this program's not going to take losing, man. You can't. They're not going to take more of the end of D'Antonio, man. But I expect you guys can win 7 to 8 games this year. I can see it. I've seen Noah Kim play a little bit, and I think he's the most talented player on your roster at the quarterback position by far.
Agreed. No, I appreciate that because you hit it all right there. I don't even got to really speak on it anymore because I feel the same way, right? Make or break year. It's no excuses, bro. Ryan Day's going through the same thing at Ohio State. Harbaugh's going through the same thing at Michigan. James Franklin going through the same thing at Penn State, right? Everybody's going through it. So for Mel, again, just like you, bro, I'm a Spartan fan. I don't want to see him not succeed. Like I want this dude to make it work, right? So to me, it shouldn't be that difficult. But when you said the craziest thing about it too is obviously I'm nowhere near as tapped in with college football as I am with basketball. But even when I heard Scotty Hazelton was coming over from Kansas State, I was like, it's Kansas State. What has Kansas State done in the Big 12 back then? I know they're good this year. And they've been good the past couple of years, but like he was there when they were trash, right? And you asking him to go from the Big 12 where they don't play defense to the Big 10 where defense is king, right? So I don't know, man. I'm rooting for Mel. This team, the talent is there. That's not the issue to me. It's about putting it together. The secondary play that we've seen the past few years has been horrendous. Like I watched USC's defense last night, and I wanted to clown USC because I got so many friends that are USC fans, but our defense is damn near just as bad the past couple of years. So, I mean, we'll see, man. But now I want to get to the entirety of the Big Ten, right? Because right? That's why I'm glad to have you here. When it comes to Penn State, I've heard they got a good quarterback. I don't know if you've heard too much about him. We'll talk. I want to get your thoughts on him. Illinois, I heard is a sleeper team to watch out for. And so just talk to me, it's always a team like Minnesota that's pretty good or Purdue that surprises. So just talking about the rest of the Big Ten and teams that you think could sneak up and some, notable, potential breakout players from any school.
Okay, yeah. Penn State is probably the biggest threat right now to Michigan and Ohio State. I know Ohio State is breaking in a new quarterback. Ryan Day still hasn't announced if it's going to be Devin Brown or Kyle McCord. But I think Kyle McCord is going to win it. People don't even realize that he was Marvin Harrison's high school teammate. So as we know, Marvin Harrison's a stud. But they'll be good. I don't worry about Ohio State. They just plug them in. They're loaded everywhere, offense, defense. They'll still be a problem for both of us. I still worry about playing them every year. So these fans in Columbus, you think they're bad up here. They want to get him. If he loses to Michigan this year, I'm telling you right now, it's going to be stakes digging the ground to get that man fired. But this is James Franklin's best team. Team. If Drew Allard can play really well, they're going to give us problems. Luckily, we played them late in November, but luckily, thank God that this is a noon game and not a night game. Because in Happy Valley, boy, I'm telling you that whiteout, it gets crazy down there. And loaded on. They'll probably be the best defensive team in the Big Ten. They got Abdul Carter, 5 of their 6 defensive linemen returned. They lost P.J. Mustipher, who was, I believe, a 4th-round draft pick. Kalen King, one of the best corners in the country. Shout out to him. He's from right here, Cass Tech High School. So, just good, man. I like where they're going. Abdul Carter's a sophomore. He'll be good for them offensively. I think I worry about the receiver position, but they got a 2-headed monster at running back in Singleton and Katron Allen, just like Michigan does. Lambert Smith is going to have to step up the receiver position. They got a tight end, Theo Johnson. He's from across the border in Canada. I think they'll do well. So they'll be the biggest threat to Michigan and Ohio State. I think those are the top 3 teams in the East and the top 3 in the Big Ten. As far as sleeper-wise, we're talking about Iowa's going to be good. They've had this controversy over the last year with the Ferentz situation, saying he's got to average 25 points a game or he's going to be fired. And if you think about this, Kev, if you got to put that kind of stipulation into your coordinators, why is he there? And it's 2023. You can't score 25 points a game? Iowa had, I believe, 7 or 8 games last year where they didn't give up more than 17 points. The defense carried them. So it's just like, hey, man, they got Eric All there, the transfer from Michigan. They got my boy McNamara, but I don't know if you heard, but apparently he got injured, a non-contact leg injury. So he's been rehabbing it from the signs in Iowa City, man. He said he's progressing. So I don't even know if he'll be ready for I believe they play Utah State next weekend. So, but their defense will always be good. They got a corner really good, Cooper DeJean, really good stud, No, they got that. I know you heard about that betting scandal they got going on down there. So they had a lineman get suspended for the entire season. But I believe that they'll be good. They'll bounce back. Their defense carry. My cousin played for them actually. Shout out to my boy Katron Merriweather. Kavon Merriweather, my bad. He's on Tampa right now, so he made the practice squad. So shout out to him. But this team will be good defensively. They always are. Just a matter of if the offense will carry them. And like you said, you brought it up earlier, Illinois. I think Brett Bielema was doing a good job bringing in all that physicality, bringing them guys down from Florida up to Illinois. They got I can't say the defensive tackle's first name, but his last name's Newton. People got to watch him. He's going to be a stud. Going to be probably a first-round draft pick. They got to replace Devin Witherspoon, obviously. Luke Altmaier's a new quarterback. And the biggest thing is they lost their running back, Chase Brown, who was a stud. I mean, Iowa almost came into Michigan last year and beat us. Boy, was I on the edge of my seat. But I think if you're looking at a sleeper, it's them. And then I would say Purdue, but they got too many changes. And then a lot of people, how am I sleeping on Wisconsin, man? You bring over Luke Fickell from Cincinnati. Well, I was actually surprised that he took the Wisconsin job of all jobs to take for his first big job in the Power 5. I know Cincinnati's in the Big 12 now, but I think it's good. He's actually bringing over Phil Longo, former offensive coordinator at North Carolina, like Coach Drake May. Now they're bringing in the air raid. A lot of people don't even know Wisconsin's known for running the ball down your throat. So we're going to see. I think they can be an interesting team, but I think they're maybe a year or two away from being really competitive. But I think they'll be good this year. So there's a lot of ways you can look at it, but the top you got, like I said, you got Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State. I think one of those 3 teams will win the Big Ten. But if I had to just throw $10, whatever, just for the heck of it, I'd throw some money on Illinois. Why not? Because the Big Ten East hasn't won a Big Ten title in forever. So now next year, I don't know why they didn't just go away from divisions this year, man. So they're not doing it till next year, but I like where it's at. But the Big Ten it's good now, and it's only gonna get better because we get those 4 teams next year. So it's gonna be good, man. You're gonna love some football you're watching this year. You guys actually open up Friday against Central Michigan, so that should be a dub. Well, our other schools in this state are not good. Central, Western, Eastern, not good, man. We got some D2 schools that are pretty good though. So, but as far as those schools, Michigan State gonna carry it away from them. So we'll see.
Nah, man, I appreciate that. So I got 2 more questions before we wrap it up.
All right.
The first one is Matt Rule is at Nebraska now. Talk to me about that. How you like that hire for Nebraska, and do you think he can resurrect them?
Matt Rule will definitely resurrect them. As far as them being national championship caliber, I'm not sure, but Nebraska's a big name historically. We were probably before we was even born, man. When I was a little kid, man, the early '90s, man, really good with Tommy Frazier, running that triple option. But they just have not been good, man, since late in the 2000s. They moved from the Big 12 to the Big 10. It's just been a weird fit, honestly, for them. I picture them as more of a Big 12 schools. They like to recruit Colorado, Texas. But look what Matt Rule did. The thing is, what people got to understand about Matt Rule, he's going to get it done. He's going to be a slow burn. In the time we live in now, everybody wants to win now. With the transfer portal, but let him do his thing, especially at Nebraska. They're gonna give him the time. They're gonna give him the resources to get it done. He actually did a good job of closing out the recruiting class. Actually, they're doing a really good job on the recruiting trail right now. I expect them to have a solid season. Jeff Sims coming over from Georgia Tech is going to be real good for them. I say that I'm gonna say they win 6 games this year, man. I'm gonna say they get it done. If they don't, then hey, that's my bad. But it's gonna be a slow burn for them. I think give them year 3 is when I expect them to really take flight and really take off and do big things. They're gonna recruit nationally, obviously Florida, Texas. Probably they can come up here and still a guy, but you never know. But I think Matt Rule is the guy for the job. I was really disappointed in Scott Frost though, man. I really thought he was gonna get the job done. But that opening game last year against Northwestern, boy, I tell you, you could have seen the stress on his face, man. But he just didn't get the job. I think it was just too much pressure, man. Sometimes it doesn't work.
Yeah, I think Matt Rule gonna be good. A lot of people kind of judge him off the little NFL tenure. It is what it is. But I mean, when you talk about what he's done in college football between Baylor, Temple, he's had a run, right? So I think he'll do some things at Nebraska. But my last question, I was going to ask about Pat Fitzgerald, but I don't really care. So it's a whole messed up situation. We'll see what happens with Northwestern in the coming years. I don't know what they're gonna do this year, but my last question, I may or may not be putting you on the spot with this one, but I think you probably have a good idea about it. I need your top 4, man. Who's gonna make the college football playoff this year, in your opinion?
Ooh. I'm obviously going to go with Michigan. I mean, it might be a homer pick, but realistically, they have a really good shot, even if they lose a game. I'm going to go Michigan and Ohio State. I'm going to go LSU.
Jaden Daniels.
I think, Jaden Daniels out of the state. He's from around your way. Former Arizona State quarterback as well. I'll go them. They'll be loaded. But the whole thing with their season is going to come down to this Florida State game. And Mason Smith's been suspended, one of their best defensive players. So the NCAA they're a joke. And then my 4th pick, I'll go. I'm gonna take a flyer on here, and I hate that I'm even saying this, and I'm gonna go with Texas. And I normally don't even like Texas. Texas is like what we used to be a few years ago when we finally started winning, and let's see if they can put it together with Quinn Ewers. They're loaded everywhere. Cedric Baxter, a freshman running back. Xavier Worthy's from. I believe he's from Fresno, right? Or is he from?
He's from Cali. Yep.
He was a one-time Michigan commit who signed, and then we had to let him go, and he signed with Texas. So I hate that he didn't stay on the team, and we could have used somebody like him, explosiveness. But if Texas can put it all together this year, I think they have a really good shot. But we know it's going to come down to that Week 2 game in Tuscaloosa. And real quick, man, I'm down on Alabama this year. I know I'm not saying that. When I say down, I'm not saying down as they're going to win 7 or 8 games. I still think they'll win 10, possibly 11 games, but I just think it'll be good. Actually, no, let me take that back. I'm taking Texas off, man. I'm sorry. How can I forget about Georgia, man? I'm in my bag, man. So I'm gonna go Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, LSU.
So are you a believer in Carson Beck? Is my question.
I'm a believer in Georgia. I think if Carson Beck just plays solid, they'll be good enough. They're loaded everywhere. Have you seen the recruiting class they got? They literally got probably at least 4 or 5 5-star linebackers in their class already. Kirby's Kirby's right now what Nick Saban was on the recruiter. I think Georgia is the new Alabama at this current moment in time right now. And with the talent down there in the SEC, man, they're loaded. But they're getting guys from California. I don't know if you've seen the Julian Lewis kid. He's a sophomore quarterback in high school. He just committed to SC. So you can tell our USC fans, you guys need to learn how to play some. They need to learn how to play some defense first. But my dad's a real big SC fan. So I've been hearing about this for years. But I just think that Georgia's the team to beat right now. Until somebody knocks them off the throne, I think it's the way to go. So we'll see. But I think it's going to be a really good year, man.
Nah, man, I appreciate you. So again, you got Georgia, you got LSU, Michigan, Ohio State. So
Yes,
top
sir.
4. It's on wax for all the people out there. Man, I appreciate you, man. We definitely gonna do this way more often. I don't even know why I called you a guest at first, because we gonna keep it rocking for a minute, especially getting into college basketball season, man. But again, plug your social media handles and let the people know where they can find you at, man.
Hey, real quick, I have one quick question for you, dog, before we get about
Go
it.
ahead. Yep.
Why in the world is it so hard to watch a USC game on Pac-12 Network? Man, I'm looking at the schedule and I'm like, I can't even watch the game because it's on Pac-12 Network. That thing is impossible to find, which is one of the reasons why Pac-12 is going boom, it's going kaboom. But real quick, I'll plug my social media. Follow me on Twitter, and that's at Keeping the Score, KeepingTheScore. Follow my YouTube channel at Adrian Myers right here on the bottom of the screen. Show me some love, subscribe, man. Show me some love. I appreciate it for having me on, Kev. We can definitely do it again.
For sure. Yeah, nah, man. I appreciate you, bro. This was fun as hell. For all the college football fans out there that I got, I hope all y'all enjoy this. Again, go subscribe to his YouTube channel. I'm telling y'all, this is one of my favorite people to just listen, talk about college football, because he does his thing. He be tapped in from coast to coast out there in Michigan. And as always, man, it's been another episode of the Kevo Bands Hoops podcast. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Please like, comment, subscribe, rate, review, and share. Y'all be easy. Enjoy y'all week. Keep grinding, keep going. And yeah, man, keep striving. I'll talk to you guys soon. As always, peace and love. Gone.